Hello, and welcome to our Eduro Learning video series, Coaching Fundamentals. In this series, we'll hear from 12 experienced instructional coaches from around the world on topics like how do you define the role of a coach, and what are your best strategies in a coaching conversation. My name is Kim Cafino, and I will be your host throughout this series. I've been really fortunate to be an instructional coach in schools around the world for the last almost 20 years, and I've learned a ton from these conversations, so I am super excited to share them with you. If you like this format, hearing from lots of different perspectives on a single topic, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel to get all 12 videos in the series. Turn on notifications to find out when we're live on YouTube and to be the first to see the next installment. Have questions about instructional coaching, or would you like to see a specific video series related to anything about education and technology? Leave us a comment below and let us know. Want to see even more instructional coaching resources after you've watched this series? Head on over to our website to check out our free resources, more videos, and online courses about teaching and learning and coaching in the digital world. As coaches, we all remember that one piece of critical advice that we got from a colleague or a friend or a mentor that really changed our coaching practice and influenced the future of our coaching careers. Today, our network of instructional coaches from around the world are going to share their key pieces of advice that they were given sometime during their career and help shape and move their career forward. Hopefully, there are bits and pieces of advice that you can pull out of this conversation and apply to your own coaching journey.
The best advice I was given when I got into coaching was definitely start with the relationships. So you want to build those relationships first. And I think if you close a door, it's often very difficult to open. So that is where I started with coaching, definitely with a relationship.
I think the best advice is that the first thing you need to have before you can coach anyone is that you need to have trust. And in order to have trust, you have to build a relationship. And in order to have a relationship with someone, you need to be seen as a person of integrity. So you need to be seen as somebody who can actually walk the talk, not just talk it. And so what I've tried to do as a coach is to be in people's classrooms and actually to be modeling a lot of different ways of using technology, but in a way that they actually feel confident in me as somebody who's able to use it in lots and lots of different contexts, even in contexts where I'm not actually the expert. Certainly I felt a bit daunted going into things like higher level maths for IB, but just being in there, being available, and being able to support teachers, I think has helped to build up a trusting relationship and has helped us then to get into coaching conversations.
One of the best bits of advice was take your time, don't push too hard, and really build those relationships, because I think trust is a big part of it, because you're asking someone to sort of open the kimono, as they say, and reveal sort of what they may perceive as shortcomings, and as teachers, a lot of time in front of people, we have to be the expert. And so to remove that sort of barrier and be vulnerable it takes a lot of trust. So I think that was one of the pieces of advice that I got early on is really work to build those relationships. And I think it goes, to finding out what people are interested in and really what they're good at, and then really focusing on letting them know and helping them understand that you really know that they're really good at these particular things. And that's sort of where you're going to start from. You're going to start from an area of strength, not from an area of deficiencies. And so I think some people are really good at things that they may not even know. But as a coach, you're working with so many different people and you see so many different little teaching moves that you can help someone even develop something they're strong at. And that helps, it bleeds into other areas of teaching.
I think the best advice I was given was about how important building a positive relationship with teachers is. And alongside that, something that worked really well for me was always presuming positive intent. So always trying to think that if somebody's not doing something, it's not because they're an awful person, but because they might be working way too hard on something else, or something's happening at home. But having that positive intent to help you make the best relationship with the people that you can.
This coaching, well, the people I've talked to as I get more into this coaching role are all the people you're talking about, so we have these amazing, inspiring conversations, and then you get back to your school and you realize it's a whole different scenario. You're not talking to coaches anymore. You're talking to teachers who perhaps have never been coached. I think the relationship aspect of coaching is it's super important. It's fundamental that you build a relationship with the teacher. We have small staff as well, so I'm really friendly with a lot of teachers, but you really have to build a professional relationship, a pedagogy-based relationship with them. And that's done little bit by little bit, That's tricky. Talking to admin a lot, trying to make sure that you have their support is so building relationships with all the different pieces, because that's eventually what's going to get you the half an hour with a teacher that you want in order to begin to move things and make a change.
The best advice that I was given actually didn't come when I first got into coaching. It came pretty recently. And she told me that you need to always remember, especially in the hardest moments when you're having that kind of like head to head, is that there's always two sides to best practice. And I love that, because every time I think about that phrase, I have to remember that even if they're disagreeing with me, they're coming from a place where they are trying to approach education where they think it's best for the kids. And so if I can just see what their best practice is, even if I think for me is insane, then I can better approach them and try to find that happy medium ground where we actually have something in common. And since I've gotten that advice, I think that I've been a lot better at not forcing my own agenda all the time, which I don't think I do anyway. But at the same time, I think I do it a lot less and catch myself before I hit that point where I might strike a nerve with someone. So
I think the best advice that any coach can be given is to really listen. A lot of times we go in maybe with our own agenda or our own set ideas of what we think should happen. And so we're not really listening to what people's hopes and fears and wonders are. We're just thinking about how can I get this person to the place where I want them to be. And that's not kind of coaching as I envision it. That's more, a lot of that is leadership of the school and leadership of the divisions. But me as a coach, I am there as sort of as a peer support, not as any kind of evaluation or supervision or trying to get people to do X, Y, or Z. So I really need to listen to what they're saying. I really need to hear what their concerns are. I really need to help them evaluate what their strengths are, and then figure out how we can leverage that. But if I don't listen, I'll never hear it.
I think Sheldon Bradshaw, who some people will know, I was really lucky to work with him a while back, talked to me about just how significant those little wins are, and kind of those tiny little pivot points that, just don't underestimate them. That little success that you have with someone, you never know actually just how crucial that's going to be a week, a month, a year from then.
The best advice I received when I became a coach was to work myself out of a job. That that would be my end goal. And I think the idea there was that my job was not to do things for people, but to help people to learn how to do them for themselves and create some sustainability so that there was something transferable there that would help them to do the next thing that they wanted to do. And I think that certainly came from coaches who went before me, who experienced hey, it's April and this is when we do the such and such project. We need to schedule you for the next 4 weeks to help our kids do the such and such project, when really the goal would be to help teachers to be able to become independent in rolling out that project.
I've had a lot of great mentors and coaches myself, and I'd say a couple of the main things is big advice that I really try to take to heart is it's not about me. It's about the other teacher, the other administrator, the other person that I'm working with. And you want to get in and like fix things and give lots of ideas and do things for people, but it's about the other person. It's about helping them make movement, not what you want to do all the time. And I think that's a big thing I keep in mind is it's not about me. It's about the person that I'm working with. I think another big piece of advice is to build those relationships. There's not anything going to be happening unless that relationship is there and that there's trust as well. And really listen and listen and listen and listen. That's the big thing. It kind of goes with like, it's not about me. It's about listening to the other person and then supporting them in what they want to do.
I think the best advice I received, because I did kind of go looking for it, and especially I went back to Rich actually because he had been the person who put me in that role, and he had been a school leader for a long time. And the best thing he said was just don't take anything personal. He's like, people don't like change. They don't like to be forced to do things. And so if somebody's upset at you, try to look at it from the fact that they're upset at the situation, they're not really upset at you. And then he told me about several times where, somebody's just taking verbal punches at him. And he's like, I knew I didn't deserve it, but I knew the person was frustrated or upset. And I just tried to focus on the fact that they were upset about the situation. They weren't necessarily upset with me.
The best advice I was given as a new coach was from my principal, who told me to make meetings with myself in my calendar. And that is because what I found as a coach, I was not leaving any time for myself in my day. I felt like, okay, I'm not in the classroom. I have time. I need to always be helping a teacher. So I was always out there. But what happened was, and I wasn't getting any of my other prep work done or reflection or anything. And obviously I was doing it later and I wasn't, I was always behind. And so early on, I talked to my principal about it and he said, Heather, why are you not booking time in yourself? And you just call it meeting with Heather and your phone will ding as you're out and you say, oh, I have a meeting and nobody needs to know who that meeting is with. So that I think was the best advice I was given as a new coach.
So many practical gems and pieces of information that are so relevant to us in the coaching world. Hopefully there are bits and pieces that you can pull out from this conversation and apply in your own coaching career. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please head over to the Eduro Learning website at edurolearning.com to check out even more great resources for coaching and parenting and teaching in the digital age. See you there.